There is a monument which sits in a field in England. Its architecture defies all known methods of assembly in any age. Yet, ironically, nearly all that is known about it is that it exists anyway. Of all of the popular locations of strange and mysterious structures around the world, perhaps none is so well known as Stonehenge. It stands silently, the remnant of a mysterious civilization that kept no records, written or otherwise. It looks on as tourists and passers-by gaze and try to make sense of the mystery of what happened here some 3,000 years ago. The structure so far has told no tales, but people have told tales. In the 12th century, the legend was born that the magician Merlin, of King Arthur fame, used magic to relocate the stones which form the structure from Ireland. More on this later. Another legend has it that the structure was built by invading Danes. And still another legend posits that the stones are the remnants of an ancient Roman temple. Among the more bizarre legends is one that posits that the structure is a fertility temple, formed into the shape of female parts. And of course the one we all know, the alien landing site. While the idea of a landing pad for a UFO is popular, I know of no instances where a UFO was reportedly seen after having landed on a specially made landing site. That's not to say there can't be more than one kind of UFO, some of which may need a landing pad. But I have never heard of such a thing. Have you? When we take a look at objective facts surrounding Stonehenge, we have to start in the 1660s with John Aubrey, acting under the direction of King James, who had an insatiable curiosity for the monument and just had to know what it was and who built it. John Aubrey ended up at the mistaken conclusion that the ancient Celts created the structure for the purpose of worship. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and the structure has now been shown to long predate the time period in which the Celts lived. King James the Curious was not to be satisfied, and almost 500 years later, we still have no answers for him. Part of the trouble in finding answers in this matter is that the mysterious civilization who made the structure left no written record at all, let alone one specific as to what it was intended for and why. And a field devoid of facts grows speculation well. Newer research, however, indicates that the site began construction some 3,000 years ago, and that it began, more or less, as a circular ditch. Over time, it became more elaborate, gaining wooden structures at one point, and the first stones some centuries later. What is particularly striking is that the blue stones in the center of the structure are shown by modern research to have come from Wales, some 150 miles away. All of the blocks weigh several tons and defy the use of any contemporary methods or devices known to man, unless one counts Merlin as their helper. How the blocks were transported is a complete mystery. Nevertheless, they were. More baffling than how they were transported is how they were assembled. The Merlin legend seems to have a grain of truth to it after all. in that the stones were transported from a great distance in an unknown way, and then impossibly assembled in an equally unknown way. Stonehenge is made of upright blocks weighing several tons, overlaid at the top by another block that weighs several tons. And beyond that, perhaps the most baffling fact of all, archaeologists have discovered that the blocks were likely rearranged 3 times. The method of construction and mobility simply defies imagination. So what is it? Some of the more plausible theories include the idea that it was used for a cemetery. Indeed, about 100 years ago, many bone fragments were unearthed at the site. Though the people of the time thought them unimportant and reburied them, they have since been unearthed and sorted into the remains of 63 people, equally male and female, and a few children. All of the remains date from the time of the building of Stonehenge. If this theory is true, then it would not have been used as a burial site for long. 63 people from a short window of time isn't much to support the theory. Another theory is that the site was seen as a place of healing by the ancient people. Indeed, in 2008, attention was brought to the fact that many of the skeletons dug up around Stonehenge showed signs of physical trauma or illness. And to go a small way in support of this theory, it has been noted that the inner blue stones have had several slivers chipped off of them, possibly used as healing talismans to carry with the person. Another theory is that Stonehenge was created as a soundscape. Indeed, it does seem to have an excellent acoustic property. In fact, the stones are spoken of in literature in reference to pipers, and referred to as piper stones many times. But is the idea that the heavy stones were somehow painstakingly transported 150 miles 3,000 years ago solely to produce great sound a plausible idea? I see no reason why we couldn't tie all of these together so far. What if 63 people thought to have divine healing powers were buried in a one-of-a-kind monument thought to honor their one-of-a-kind gift? And what if people with ailments made a pilgrimage to the site, hoping to be healed by those same people from beyond the grave? What if the monument had been designed with acoustic properties, thinking it would better let the people buried hear their prayers? Yet another theory is this: Stonehenge lines up with the sun during the winter solstice, making it seem as though this were a religious site. This religious theory is plausibly also connected to the thought of a gravesite for a divine group of people. A final theory that has gained some traction is that the stones came about during a time of great unity. Perhaps they were some sort of ancient team-building exercise. It would have taken thousands to build the structure. But how would you explain the dead bodies buried in the structure? After 3,000 years of pondering this mystery, the answers do not seem to be forthcoming. In fact, the only witness to the events is the monument itself. It is still with us, and it remains silent.